Hello everyone, Siri Emerald here. So the big question is, where has Siri Emerald been? Well, my computer took a dump a few weeks ago, and so I had to buy new computer parts. Now, it's been a little while since I've built a computer, so I was a little rusty, but this is what I came up with. I chose a Cooler Master HAF 932 full tower case. My whole thought in the building of and designing of this computer was expandability. And so I went with a full tower case, so there's plenty of room to do whatever it is that I desire or want to do in the future in this regard. The last computer I had, I bought back in 2009, so I expect or hope to be able to get at least that much time out of this one as well. This case is really impressive in my opinion. They make several different models of it, but the whole purpose here was to get a case that could really cool the computer down. I want to make sure that it doesn't get hot. There are several fans on this computer case. You have the big one on the side, there's a huge one on the top, there's one in the back, and there's one in the front. You can reposition them if you need to. The one on the top can be put on the bottom, depending on where it is you'll be putting your power supply on it. And there's room to even place more fans in here as well. So I'm really impressed with the fan placement and options available on this computer. Now, they placed right here in the front the USB 3.0 ports. I didn't much care for where they were placed on this spot on the case, so you'll see me moving those in a few minutes and putting them up here to the top where these other input ports are located at, and your headphone and microphone jacks. The top of this case is vented for the large fan on top that blows the air out of the case there. The air is designed to flow in this getup from the bottom through the computer up to the top. And your power button is right there on the top as well. There's a little plexiglass display case you can see inside right there. And here's the back of the case, and there's the other side where pretty much the back or the side is where all the cables are kept. So let's open this up. Get out the trusty screwdriver here. They have thumb screws on the back, which you can use with your thumb if you don't tighten it down real tight. And if I were going in and out of my computer a lot, I would probably just use the thumb screws, but I'm going to tighten the thumb screws down with a screwdriver to keep the sides of the case on. I believe in keeping the case together. A lot of people like to open them up so they can get air inside of it. But I believe this case is designed to work best with the sides on it all the time. This box here contains all of the little extra pieces and stuff that the case comes with. It comes with a couple extra cables. This cable bundle is all your ports, your USB 2.0s and 3.0s and power lights and power button and all that bundled together. So just untie that and get that ready to plug into the motherboard when we get to that point. Now right here I'm getting out the cables to that USB 3.0 that I will be moving from its default location to the top of the case. Inside this box also are the wheels and the faceplate cover for 3.5 and the power cables and instruction manuals. I'll be putting the wheels on this. I'll be having this on the floor instead of a desktop. It's funny to call this a desktop. I can't even call this a desktop. This is a full tower that sits on the floor, and the wheels are really nice to be able to move it in and out if I need to plug stuff into the back that are regular ports. I like these little Cooler Master buttons that they have here on the side for sliding out your devices. They're pretty cool. You push it once and it locks your piece in. You push it a second time, it unlocks the piece. So they didn't have one there where the USB 3.0s were, so I just had to unscrew that and pull it out. But there was one up at the top where I'm planning on putting this at. So after removing this grill plate and pushing out or pulling out the little shield behind it, I also had to remove that Cooler Master button set right there at the top, and they did not make that easy to come out. It does come out, but no, it surely wasn't easy to do. But that piece just fit in there nice and smooth and looks like it's supposed to have been there all along after I'd placed that in there. First I was trying to see if there was a screw that would go in there, and believe it or not, the screws that they provide are too small to fit through those holes. So even though there's holes there for a screw to go into if you wanted to screw in your device permanently in that position. The screws that they provide you, the heads are too big for that. So I don't know why even they put those little holes there if they don't give you the screws that'll fit it. I guess they really expect you just to be able to use the pins that are on here to hold it, and the pins hold them really good, so there's no argument there. But the little springs that keep everything together and part of the working mechanism. When I first pulled that off, those springs went flying, if you can imagine. I had to track them down and find them and put the thing back together again. So then I just screw in this USB 3.0 port here to keep it permanently affixed and in position where it's supposed to be, and it fits perfectly in there. Tighten it down and keep it so it doesn't move ever again, accidentally or otherwise. Down here is where I'm going to put my 3.5-inch hard drive. I am using several drives in this setup, but I'm bringing over a traditional 3.5-inch hard drive, and that was a 2.5-inch adapter there for what would be the old floppy drives or stuff like that, but I'm going to use that as well here in a minute for my SDs drives. They give a little black tape to tape on the sides to keep it really nice, and so you really can't see the silver portions of the hard drive in there. And you can see how I was testing the little buttons, sliding it in and out, and it really does, it locks it right in place so they couldn't move. And I had to attach the piece back on there from the one up top, and again, it really isn't designed to come in and out, so it was some customizing, if you will, to get them to fit in and out, but it's completely functional now that I've placed that back into this open spot where the USB 3.0s were, and there you can see my SD drives that up in there. I had to custom make the front faceplate for that, and here's the screws, and here's some tie downs and some more stuff that goes in the computer. So here's where the power supply goes, or you can put the power supply up top. And they also have these little holes there if you're going to run direct straight wire in there for if you're wiring it permanently. This comes out so you can have in and out access through there if you're going to run some more wires. And there's the big fan up top, big fan on the back, and big fan up front, and that's the fan on the side. You know, all the cables, and again the button that pushes in and out, and where the drives are, this little 2.5-inch drive, and there's the bigger 3.5-inch drive, and the cables that are hanging. Put in this a SSD drive. I bought a 250 gig SSD drive, and man, I tell you, it sure was easy to install, and just plug it in and it works beautiful, just like using any USB or other SD drive. And this is where I put it at, right here, is a little 2.5-inch adapter on this rail. So easy that this just slides in and out. Again, you just lock this in, and you can use the screws or not. I screwed it in. I don't want this to be jarred around or pulled out, but you can also just set them in there, and then it just slides in and out. It's so easy, these hard drives here. It's amazing the thought that they went into this. I love how this is in and out. Simple as that. Here's the I/O backing for the computer, the motherboard. This will go back here, presses in through the back and lines up. MSI provides this in their motherboard, or whomever, whichever motherboard you get, they should give you one of these to go into a desktop. And here's the power supply that I use. I went with an 850. I probably could have used as low as a 650, but again, I intend to upgrade this computer as it goes along. And all of the cables, there never seems to be enough cables, but there's the cables. And this 850 power supply can be put in either from the top or from the bottom. I mean, that fan on there actually sucks air into the power supply to cool it. So the fan will be on the bottom of the computer. So again, the configuration of the air flowing from the bottom all the way through the top on this device is how this is designed. And so it just goes in here. You place it. If you want to put it on the top, you can remove those brackets that it sits on and put fans down there. And here's where I'm removing the bottom of the feet to put the wheeled casters on. Now they give you 12 additional screws for this, so you have to use the other 4 screws that the feet were held in, and that makes complete sense. And these just screw in. The front 2 wheels actually lock in. Here's the motherboard I use, an MSI X99A Gaming Pro. I chose this mostly because of its design material that they made it out of, the steel and the carbon, but I also chose it because it has 8 slots and will hold 128 gigabytes of RAM. 128 gigabytes of RAM. That's just beyond comprehension to me. 2 times this, 1.5 that, 19 times this, 12 times this, 4 times that. I don't even know what they're even comparing it to, but there it is. It's a beautiful black and silver motherboard. It lights up. You can change the colors on it. You can buy LED strips for it and plug them in there. It's quite cool if you want to really dress it up. This 2011 V3 arrangement for processor input here is pretty cool. It's got like a double locking mechanism on there. You have to do one and then the other to get it out, and which instead of just one clasp to hold it in, you use the two. It took me a minute to figure out how to get that out, but I got it. And there's a little black cover on there. Now make sure you don't lose that black cover in case you ever send it back. Now there's an Intel Core i7 processor 5820K that I'm using. The 6700s and whatnot were out, but in all actuality, the price on this and its clockability and its processing power far exceeds, in my opinion, the newer chips. This chip, by the way, was only tested to 64 gigs officially by Intel, and that's because there was no DDR4 at the time when it came out. The DDR4s, this chip has been tested now, not officially by Intel, to do the 128 gigs, which is the whole big thing. Now mind you, when you put these in, there's these little slots on here. You can line them up. Also, there's an arrow in one of the corners that will point to the arrow on the motherboard in the silver area around there, and it's actually in the lower right hand corner of that square. And you get the arrow lined up and you put them in the little slots, and you don't want to touch the back of this processor. You don't want to touch the front of this processor. You don't want to touch anywhere except for just the sides of this processor. You don't want the oils from your fingers affecting anything. You don't want to break anything under there. They're very fragile, and you just want to be very careful in operating this. When you lock this down, most of the times whenever you close one of these up, the little black plastic piece on the back of it will pop off. And when it did pop off after the first one, I went ahead and pulled it off, but I imagined as soon as I had pressed down the other latch, it would have popped off. I have complete faith in that would have been the case. And so right here is the RAM sticks that I use. Each one of these are 16 gigs. So with 2 sticks, I do have now 32 gigabytes of DDR4 2133 RAM in this motherboard, and because there's 6 other slots, I will be able to build it up to 128 gigs, and this specific chip can handle it. There's a documentation on the internet of individuals who have done that and have ran it fine, so I have complete faith in knowing that in the future I will be able to purchase 6 more 16 gigabyte RAM sticks and put it in there. And it's running 32 gigs now. The system just shows the 32 gigs on there, which is beautiful. I absolutely love it. A little difficult getting this in here. I'm used to, or the last time I'd done this, they snapped in pretty easily. You just put your thumbs on the end of them and push them in. This one didn't necessarily want to go in that easily, but on the right hand side is where the little locking clasp is, and on the left hand side it locked in it on its own. There was not an additional or a secondary locking clasp on the left. It was just on the right, and I think that added to the difficulty in getting it in. Possibly the reason they didn't put one on the left was for space management, because you notice PCI slots are right there for your video cards, and that will go in there. Also on this motherboard, and you always want to check that on your motherboard, you want to read the documentation, you have to skip a slot on this one. Some of them you don't, but most of them you do on motherboards that have multiple slots for RAM sticks. So that would be in the first and the third spots on this motherboard. And you want, like I said, you want to check your documentation to see how you're supposed to build them as you build your chips up. That's a Cooler Master EV0212. Air-cooled cooling system, a big huge radiator. It comes with a single fan. It comes with an additional bracket to add a second fan, which I did add. It comes with the little silver X and that silver box you see are the covers for either an Intel or an AMD chip. So whichever chip you're using, it's compatible with that. On the bottom of it there where the radiating cooler pipes are, where it was sitting on the table, there's a little piece of plastic. You pull that off. That's why I was able to sit it on there. It wasn't actually touching the portion that's going to touch the processor chip. And you see, I had the paste on there, the thermal paste. You definitely want to put the thermal paste on there. And there's little stanchions that you put on your motherboard depending on which chip you're using, an AMD or an Intel chip, to determine how high this radiator is going to be above that. And I was measuring it to see what side I wanted to put the fan on. It didn't matter. I ended up putting the fan, two fans on there. I put a secondary fan on there. But this fan originally, where I placed it at originally, was drawing the air in the wrong direction. I needed to make sure the air was coming across the video card and up and over. So here I am putting the stanchions inside the case. Imprinted in the bottom of the case there was rules on whether you're using a micro ATX or an ATX board. This is an ATX board, and it tells you where to put the stanchions at. And then you just put the motherboard in there and screw it in. It's best to have a magnetic screwdriver in these instances to hold on to your screws. In the old days, they would say keep magnets away from computers because everything was done on magnetic drives, floppy drives. But nowadays, you definitely don't want to drop anything in there, so you want to. I recommend a magnetic screwdriver for using these screws. These are your little power lights, and the power switch more or less that runs up to the top, and your hard disk drive light. And I always like to tie these in. I always try to keep it really nice and neat, and I use little zip ties. You can buy them from anywhere. MSI Gaming GeForce GTX 1070 8GB processor and video card right there. This processor, motherboard, and these video cards, you can run up to 3 of them. And I only bought the one. Again, in upgrading, I plan to maybe buy a couple more or 2 to do SLI, or 3rd for the 3-way. And so here it is, all assembled. I've got it together. You can see the wheels on it. You can see the back of the motherboard. I mean the motherboard and the video card. And what you really want to see though is you want to see it lit up. And there it is, lit up. Plugged it in so you can see it, what it looks like with the lights on. It really looks nice at night. It really glows beautifully. I put a blue fan on top there. The red's what it comes with, and from my understanding you can change out the colors on that, and there's a post LCD up there, which is nice. A lot of them have done away with that. What's neat on the bottom, there's an overclocking knob down there. You can either overclock it in the BIOS, but you can also overclock the board. And it's so funny, they put a dial on there that goes 1 to 11. If you're overclocking it, turn it up to 11, right? There's that MSI 1070 motherboard, and it's just a really beautiful, really super powerful, really fast, really amazing computer. I'm very happy with it, very much so. So thanks for watching, everyone. Please subscribe by clicking that button right there at the top. The soundtrack for this song is Kanashi by From the Dust. And comment on this. Tell me what you think down there. Follow me on Facebook at Siri Emerald, Twitter at Siri.Emerald, Patreon Siri Emerald, and please subscribe and like my videos. Happy collecting. See you on the next video, folks.